Every single one of these bills is fully consistent with the Second Amendment, so don't buy that argument. I challenge anyone who hasn't raised their voice in support to put forth a single coherent argument against any of these bills.
Oh, Governor Murphy, don't tempt me with a good time. You want a single coherent argument against these bills? You got it. Understand that New Jersey already has universal background checks, red flag laws, gun storage requirements, an assault weapons ban, a high capacity magazine ban, regulations on so-called ghost guns, and regulations on open carrying of firearms. Aren't those all the same laws that the anti-gun lobby said were common sense and reasonable, and that's all they were asking for? Yet New Jersey has all of these laws and they still want more. They use the words common sense and reasonable the same way an abusive spouse uses words like I love you just to get you to come back right before they beat you again. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that they think every gun control law on the planet is common sense and reasonable. Now, let's break down these bills, shall we?
1, require anyone applying for a firearm purchaser card to first complete a certified safety course, just as we require, by the way, anyone looking to drive a car to get a license proving they know how to safely use it. Is that not common sense?
First of all, driving and owning a car is a privilege, not a right. It literally says that on the driver's education website. However, owning and carrying a gun is a fundamental right, not a privilege. So comparing the privilege of driving and owning a car to the right of firearm ownership isn't common sense. It's intellectually and consistently stupid. Besides, we don't require a driver's safety course to own a car. It's only required if you want to drive the car on public roads. But whatever. You want to go there? Let's go there. On January 17, 2020, Governor Murphy signed a bill that would give people in New Jersey up to $5,000 for the purchase or lease of an electric vehicle. If this bill was truly about safety, wouldn't he be providing the same type of incentive for people to take gun safety courses the same way he's trying to incentivize people to buy an electric car? Well, no, because it's not about safety. It's about restriction and control. The Second Amendment is a fundamental right, so he can't just outright ban it. So he engages in ban by a million requirements. Get this license, but first you have to take this course. But first you have to pay for this course. But first it has to be approved, and on and on and on the requirements go until the process of trying to legally own a firearm becomes so onerous you either say screw it or become a criminal. The idea of requiring a safety course before you purchase a gun may seem reasonable until you start asking questions like how much will the course cost? How long will the course be? And what days will the course be available? Where is this course located? Owning a gun is expensive already. Forcing people to pay for a course and taking time off work to take a course makes it harder on the people who live in high crime areas, because the vast majority of people who live in high crime areas don't make very much money and they need the guns the most. Owning a gun is not like owning a car, because again, owning a gun is a right. Forcing people to pay to take a course before they own a gun turns that right into a privilege. I'm not required to take a course on dangerous language before I can exercise my First Amendment right. Firearm safety doesn't require a mandated course. It's as simple as 4 rules. Treat all guns as if they're always loaded. Never point the muzzle at anything that you aren't willing to destroy. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Before you shoot, know what's in front and behind your target. Reasonably secure your guns from people you don't want using your guns. That's it. Do all of these things every single time you handle a firearm. There will never be an accident.
2, close the loophole that allows those moving into New Jersey to skirt the procedures that established New Jersey residents must follow in order to qualify to purchase or obtain firearms.
Okay, this is just dumb. Nobody is moving to New Jersey. There are more people moving out of the state of New Jersey than to New Jersey because you keep passing stupid laws like this. This is a non-starter.
3, require any and all guns not in use to be stored securely in a lockbox or gun safe. According
to the anti-gun organization Everytown, there were at least 2,070 unintentional shootings by children under 18 years old between January 1st, 2015 and December 31st, 2020. Anyone want to take a guess the number of children under 5 that were treated in emergency rooms for unintended poisonings in 2020 alone? 61,500. Keep in mind that the stat for unintentional shootings was for people 18 and younger, whereas the stat for unintentional poisoning was based on children under the age of 5. So if you increase the unintentional poisoning age limit to under 18, it'll be even higher. So if this storage law is supposedly about keeping kids safe, where are the safe storage poison laws? There are no laws that threaten to prosecute people who don't lock up their detergent, medication, or antifreeze. Do you want to know how we keep kids safe from unintentional poisoning? Unforced education. We have published guidelines to provide examples and options on how to store these things. We educate not only the parents, but the children so that they don't drink poison just because it's colorful. Besides, the negative implications of forcing people to lock up poison in their homes, at worst, cause a minor inconvenience, whereas the negative implications of forcing people to lock up their guns at worst can cause death because people can't get to their guns fast enough to protect themselves because they were forced to lock them up. No one wants their child to accidentally shoot themselves or anyone else. So instead of forcing people to store a gun in such a way that makes it less capable of doing the thing it was designed to do in the first place, how about focusing on educating people about the various options on how to store their gun and the pros and cons? How about you teach firearm safety in schools so even if a child comes across a gun, they know not to touch it, or educate them enough about guns so that it removes the curiosity. Y'all are willing to teach toddlers about sexual identity. Why not teach them about gun safety? I'll tell you why. Because once again, this is not about safety. It's about making legal gun ownership so difficult that you won't want to do it. The last thing they want to do is teach kids gun safety because they know it will create a generation of kids who not only respect firearms, but also respect the essence of the Second Amendment. And what they really want is to create a generation of people who hate the Second Amendment so that they'll be more willing to give up those rights.
4, mandate that all handguns sold in New Jersey be equipped with MicroStamping technology that leaves a one-of-a-kind imprint on every round of ammunition fired so law enforcement can trace a specific round to a specific gun.
About a year or two ago, the governor of California tried to do this in California. And I did a video then breaking down how microstamping doesn't work and is a waste of money. So instead of rehashing those same points, I'll just play the pertinent parts of that video now. Microstamping technology doesn't even work. We know this because Maryland had their own version of it for 15 years and it cost them $5 million. And it stopped literally 0 gun deaths and helped them solve a total of 0 crimes. And who do you think paid that $5 million for this boo-boo the fool system? The people of Maryland. Microstamping is using a laser to create a unique mark on the tip of a firing pin and on the breech face of a handgun. Theoretically speaking, this serves as a sort of fingerprint that is left on the back of the shell casing of a bullet for each gun. However, here's the problem. It could get innocent people locked up. It takes nothing for a criminal to go to a gun range, pick up a few shell casings, and then commit a crime with his gun, but then drop those shell casings at the scene of the crime, and then boom, now the police are knocking on your door because the microstamping on the shell casings at the scene of the crime were traced back to your gun. Or the criminal will just go to the gun range and shoot a bunch of rounds through his gun, wearing down the microstamping, and then go commit the crime. Or the criminal will spend $1 or $2 to buy some sandpaper and then use it to disfigure the microstamping, rendering it useless.
5, require electronic record keeping of all ammunition sold in New Jersey to help identify dealers and straw purchasers.
Understand that New Jersey already has a gun registry. It's one of the few states that do, and it's something the anti-gun lobby has been wanting to do on the national level for ages. Yet, here is a state that has a gun registry, yet now they're asking for an ammunition registry. What happened? Is a gun registry not as effective as you thought it would be? I keep telling and showing you all that the goal is to keep asking for more and more and more under the guise of this is the last thing we want. They wanted a gun registry. They got it. Now they want an ammunition registry. And if they get that a couple of years later, after it proves that it has done nothing and had no effect whatsoever, they'll be asking for another restrictive gun law to make gun ownership even that much harder. This is stupid. You can make ammo easier than you can make a gun, and criminals are still getting their hands on guns, even with a gun registry. So what makes you think an ammo registry is going to do anything?
6, once and for all, ban the sale of 50 caliber firearms. 50 caliber firearms, by the way, can take down helicopters. The Ukrainians need them. We don't need them in New Jersey. Who can seriously argue that these weapons of war belong on our streets?
He says Ukraine needs 50 cals, not people in America. Keep in mind, though, that the Second Amendment was written so that people can have the necessary arms to fight back against a tyrannical government. Yet this fool's example to justify why we don't need these type of arms is a country whose people are actively fighting a war against a tyrannical government. He literally defeated his own argument while validating the whole purpose of the Second Amendment and why we should have 50 cals with his own example. There's literally nothing left for me to say.
And 7, and finally, enact a public nuisance cause of action law to hold gun manufacturers and distributors alike responsible for the damage caused by firearms. That sounds a little gobbledygook legalese. That's a big deal. We could tie this back to the gun manufacturers. We bring them down.
It's not legal gobbledygook. You want it to sound like legal gobbledygook so people don't actually realize what you're trying to do. I did a whole video about this years ago, but I'll try to explain it simply here. There is a federal law called PLCCA. This law says you can't sue a gun manufacturer simply because a criminal uses a gun to commit a crime made by that manufacturer. The same way you can't sue Dodge simply because someone used a Hellcat to run over people. The only reason this law exists is because the anti-gun lobby had been filing so many frivolous lawsuits against gun manufacturers. Anytime there was a shooting, it was threatening to bankrupt the entire industry. Not because the courts were finding that the gun manufacturers were liable, but because fighting a lawsuit, even if it's frivolous, is expensive as hell. So Congress passed this law to protect gun manufacturers from these types of frivolous lawsuits. Even the Department of Defense at the time said that these laws were needed, or there would be no gun industry for them to buy guns from. However, recently the anti-gun lobby found what they think is a workaround to this law that would allow them to start filing frivolous lawsuits against gun manufacturers again on the state level. That is what this governor is trying to do. The goal is to destroy the gun industry. That's it. He even says it.
We could tie this back to the gun manufacturers. We bring them down.
The man says it clear as day, so we can bring them down. That's the goal of all of this. It's to erode the Second Amendment into oblivion. This isn't just one governor. This is a concerted effort on the part of the anti-gun politicians and the anti-gun lobby on the local, state, and national level. Stop falling for the stupidity and protect your rights, people. You know, we talk a lot about empowerment in this country, except for when it comes to the Second Amendment. However, I can't think of anything more empowering than having the most effective tool to protect you and your family. So help me spread this message by liking and sharing this video with everyone you know. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment, because the Second Amendment, when it said militia, it wasn't talking about the government. It was talking about you. Also, if you want to know where to find the I'm the Militia shirt and merchandise, click the I'm the Militia link in the description section of this video. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And most importantly, make sure you hit that bell symbol.